few times a week, I remind myself that you only live once. And again, it sounds so cliche, but actually, when you really, really think about that, like, even if you believe in, like, you know, reincarnation and past lives and stuff like that, you only get this life one time, right? And you don't know what your next life's going to be.
No.
Like, you could come back into this world with a completely different set of circumstances. So, like, why would you not do everything that lights you up and brings you joy and take risks? And, you know, I don't know. It's just, I think it's something that needs to be talked about more. I was trying to think of things that we're both really good at, and I thought,
Podcasting?
getting there. One of the things I think that we are both good at, and we should be speaking a little bit more about, is living life to the absolute fullest and sort of grabbing...
Living life to the max.
Living life to the max. It sounds so... what's a nice way of putting this?
Well, it's a bit cliche,
embarrassing.
I suppose.
Yeah, it's
And
a bit cliche.
A bit. I mean, in a cynical world that we live in, it sounds a bit like, oh yeah,
And a bit woo.
yeah.
But, you know, there is the old adage of you only live once, and, like, you know, grab the bull by the horns, all those phrases. But actually, I do tell myself, like, a few times a week, I remind myself that you only live once. And again, it sounds so cliche, but actually, when you really, really think about that, like, even if you believe in, like, you know, reincarnation and past lives and stuff like that, you only get this life one time, right? And you don't know what your next life's going to be.
No.
Like, you could come back into this world with a completely different set of circumstances. So, like, why would you not do everything that lights you up and brings you joy and take risks? And, you know, I don't know. It's just, I think it's something that needs to be talked about more.
Yeah, and I think, well, yeah, like another cliche, one swing of the bat. Yeah, I think also, I guess, and I don't know if this is the same case for you, I think when you've kind of been through things like grief and loss in early stages of your life, for me, I think it's definitely put me on a path of being more like that, like really taking more risks, you know, being a bit more open to chance and fate and all those kind of things, and putting yourself out there, and yeah, and having that kind of mentality around it. So I don't know if it's the same for you, because obviously, you know, we both had that in our lives, that experience, and I think that is part of it for me. Like, you do only get this one chance, and you just don't know what's around the corner. So
Yeah.
actually, why not try and make the most of the things that you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's had that effect on me, but I also know other people who have had similar losses and griefs and traumas who it's had the other, you know, the opposite effect on, and people become a little bit more insular and protective of themselves and stuff, and, like, scared to take risks, and it can have the opposite effect. But I think in general there seems to be just like a societal fear of taking risks, you know, starting that business, writing that book, whatever it might be, trying to become a full-time creative, quitting your job, moving to another country, like, and I think, honestly, like, it makes me so sad when people, especially friends who I care about, say, like, oh, I've always wanted to do this, or like, oh, I would love to do that, and, you know, and they just don't do it, and there's no other reason why not other than fear, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, same for me. I've got people in my life that I talk to on a regular basis who have got dreams and aspirations, but have become, and this is no slight on them, but comfortable with their life. They've got things, they've got nice material things, they've got houses, blah, blah, blah. They've got responsibilities that they feel in the back of their mind, if they were to take a leap of faith and do something that they would be their dream job, or like dream occupation, or, you know, even just starting new hobbies, to be honest, that it would interrupt and mess up what they've got. And it's that risk factor that they don't want to sort of take.
Totally.
And I totally get that. I totally understand, you know, that sometimes it's maybe, you know, I'm not a very pragmatic person, so maybe sometimes it is good to be a bit more pragmatic about life. Having said that, I'm always very encouraging to those people that they should just do it, like, because of, you know, what we've said, like, you do only get this one chance. And do you want to, I guess what I'm trying to say, I like to say to people is, don't ever have regrets. Like, don't live a life where you've got any regrets. If you come to the end of your life and you think, oh, I'm glad I didn't do that thing in the end, because actually I've got all this stuff and this nice house and blah 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 and all that, and I can pass that on to my children or whatever it might be. That's great. But if you get to the end and then you're like, I really wish I'd done that thing, then that sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks. I mean, there's books about this, like palliative care nurses that have written books about people on their deathbeds. And like, I think the number one thing that people regret is that they didn't do like the job that they wish they could have done. They didn't follow a career path or a pursuit that they really had a hankering to do. And they didn't because, they thought society expected them to do something else, or they had family and stuff like that. And yeah, like obviously we can't just pretend that responsibilities don't exist and just throw caution to the wind and quit your job and, be completely irresponsible. But at the same time, I mean, what do you want to pass on to your children? Do you want to pass them, a bit of money and a house and then die? Or do you want to like inspire them and be a role model of someone that chased their dreams and did what they loved and what they were passionate about and teach them all these valuable life lessons? I don't know. I mean, everyone's priorities are different, but I think, that I know people that genuinely love that, they've got the job they're happy enough with, and they've got the family and the house, and that's all they want, and that's amazing. Like, it's great. And I also know a lot of people that are doing a job they hate, and they have all these secret desires that they want to do, that secret like job that they're afraid to even tell their friends that they want to do and stuff like that. And and it's just kind of misery is just eating them up slowly but surely. And I hate seeing it. And I shouldn't really care as much as I do, but I think once you learn to kind of chase your dreams and do the stuff that lights you up, it becomes actually harder to see other people not doing it because you're on the other side and you're like, come over to this side. It's
you know what's funny? And I don't know if you do this, but I do this all the time. I'm always asking people if there's some, like, I'm kind of saying, if you weren't doing this, what would you want to do? Like I do that all the time. Even with people that got like kind of what I look like at dream jobs. I did it the other day. I messaged someone and I was like, oh, is there anything else you'd like to do? Like, and then it wasn't that person was moaning particularly about the job they were doing, or, and we're talking about work here, not just other things in life, but they weren't moaning about it, but I was still like, if you could do anything, what would it be? Kind of thing. And then started to eke out some information about like, oh, they're quite into writing and they quite. I was like, I'll just fucking go and do it then. But that is me being a dream chaser, and it's probably not always fair to push my own, my own feelings and stuff like that. But still at the same time wanting to be someone who encourages that in people if they do, particularly if people are vocal about it. Like you say, some people are very vocal about like, I really wish I could do this thing.
Yeah.
And you think, well,
get off the pot or piss kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I have friends that are amazing. One of my friends is an amazing illustrator. She's just really good at drawing. And the amount of times I've been like, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, to the point where she was like, I don't want to do it. Like, I genuinely don't want to do it for a career because I know it will ruin it for me. Right now, I actually enjoy doing it as a hobby. And that's just me kind of like forcing my own shit on her. But yeah, it's really interesting. And I think it's a cool question to ask. Like, I've had conversations with people before where I remember once we were in Costa Rica, we were in literally, when you go out past all the waves and you get to the calmer bit of the ocean and you just kind of like bob up and down with the water, and there was a few of us were doing that. We were just kind of like floating in the water, like, so what are your dreams? You have those really deep conversations. It's like, and this guy was telling us, I really want to do, and I won't say it because I don't want anyone to steal the idea, because it was such a good idea. He wanted to do some thing where he like built a house and did a thing. Anyway, I was like, you need to do this because this is such a niche. Like, I've never seen anyone else do this before. And it's really interesting. It'll be really different. It'll be really interesting. Like, I would come to it, I don't know if he'll ever do it, but it was one of those situations where I was like, he's either going to do it or he's not. And he's going to regret that for the rest of his life. And I swear to God, if he doesn't do it, I'm gonna air it. I'm gonna put it on this podcast so someone can do it, because I genuinely believe like ideas and things, they like pop into your head for a reason, and you're supposed to take advantage something out of moments. That. Exactly, because someone else will. You hear it all the time. People are like, "Oh, I thought of that plot for that film years ago."
Well, then you should have done nothing about it.
Why did you did anything about it then? And now Scorsese's just made it.
Yeah. So in conclusion, I guess if you are someone who is kind of desperate to maybe change what they're doing with their lives and stuff, I mean, you and I would be advocating for you to now just go and do that thing. But at least have a think about it, like have a conversation with people.
Or put steps in place, like tangible steps, and take actions that will kind of force you to follow up with that as well. Like, don't just think about it and then not do anything. Like, do something that's going to force you to actually take the next step, because it's not always a case of like quitting your job and doing something completely new, or like, you know, moving to the other side of the world with nothing put in place to support you, because that's just silly. But, you know, making that phone call or sending an email or making a new CV or whatever it might be, just take those steps, and then you'll actually see that 9 times out of 10 doing that thing that you secretly wanted to do isn't actually that hard. You know, I've got a friend who started a business a couple of years ago, literally off of the same sort of thing. She was always just sort of like doing jobs she didn't like, putting minimal effort in, and then and then she just decided, she was like, do you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to start doing like football camps for girls, because there's a niche for that. I think the World Cup had happened as well, and everyone was like bang on girls football. And cut to like 2 years later, and she's like, do you know what, it actually wasn't that hard. Like, I thought setting up a limited company and getting a new bank account and doing this and this was going to be really scary, and it has not been scary or hard at all, and I wish I'd done this sooner.
Yeah, like you say, it seems a lot of these things seem scary on the outset, but actually more scary not to have a go sometimes.
Totally. Cool.